Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Star Wars Dr. Aphra Omnibus Volume 2 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. So before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on August 29th or 30th, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here, this particular cover, is the direct market cover by Joshua Swaby. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover drawn by Valentina Remenar. And both of them have a different design or picture on the spine, so keep that in mind whenever you're picking and choosing which cover you want. Although some people don't care about what's on the spine, they just care about what's on the cover, and vice versa. But I do like to show what your options are. Direct market, of course, only being available at places like your local comic book store, cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, comicsbugle.com, dimebreedcollectors.com, organicpricebooks.com, readcomics.com, InStockTrades.com, TalesOfWonder.com, DCBS, and places like that. Alright, but let's shift the focus back to this because everything underneath the dust jacket is the same. Wong, Cresta, Jung, Rosenberg. And Star Wars Dr. Aphra, the Marvel logo there. And there we have a couple of characters that some of you may be familiar with if you read the first omnibus. And of course I'm talking about the titular character, Dr. Shelley Lona Aphra, and Sanasteros, who both appeared in this particular omnibus. So what Marvel has done is released a second omnibus. So this is volume 2 of Dr. Aphra. You can see the one right there and the two right there. It's a little hard to see. Maybe it's just my older age. No credits given to the creators in this one. Maybe there were just too many. And then the back of the book right here. So yes, it is quite significantly smaller. As a matter of fact, the series is still ongoing, and people were wondering why didn't they wait until it was over? I don't know, maybe Dr. Aphra just has such a huge popularity that people were demanding books in omnibus format like that. Because this one here, they restocked, there was a reprint of this in about a year's time between the original printing and the new printing. This is the original printing, by the way. Alright, but let's shift the focus back to this, where we look at the spine here. Marvel Omnibus, Star Wars Dr. Aphra. I just wanted to show you what it would look like on your shelf. Wong, Cresta, Jung, and Rosenberg, Volume 2. And then, again, Dr. Aphra and Sanasteros. And then the back of the book right here. ISBN, giving you a little blurb about what Dr. Aphra, or this particular run, is about. And then the retail price, $75. Marvel, Disney, and Lucasfilm. Little blurbs right here on the book. Underneath the dust jacket. Man, these two, they're all over the book. This is what it looks like underneath the dust jacket. And I've always loved that piece right there by Lionel Francis Yu. I think one of my viewers who is from the Philippines told me that's how he pronounces it. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been calling him Lionel Francis Yu for so many decades. And of course, Lady Domina in the background with these two fighting. All right, we're going to crack the book open and talk about some of the stories collected in here while showing off the artwork. Just because I think I'm just going to throw the spoilers tag up there, just in case you haven't read Volume 1, you don't know who this character is. I suggest you go back and watch my video. I think I did a pretty good job explaining who she is and showing off the art in the first volume. Or in case you like going in completely blind, you don't need to know anything or look at the artwork. You already bought this, but hit that like button before you leave, please. That goes a long way here on the channel. Means the world to us. It's a very small thing you can do. Alright, cracking it open with that little bit of a warning about some spoilers from the previous volume and where we are, even though this kind of changes a lot of things. Alright, let's do it. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the omnibus. Some black end sheets right there. Dr. Aphra with the pattern of all the stars out there in the sky. Star Wars Dr. Aphra, written by Alyssa Wong and drawn by different artists here throughout different arcs. You have Marika Cresta, Min-Kyu Jung, Federico Sabatini, and then you have the return of Min-Kyu Jung for the final arc in here. And Joshua Swaby doing issues 7 through 9, Ray Anthony Height, Rochelle Rosenberg tying it all together with her wonderful colors, lettering by Joe Caramagna. And you do have different inkers, of course, working with each of the creators through here. But we are kicking off a brand new era of Dr. Aphra. Now, if you've got the first omnibus takes place immediately after A New Hope. She was introduced through the pages of Darth Vader and kind of made enemies with Darth Vader, and that's kind of what I wanted to warn people about, just in case of minor spoilers. So even the name Vader kind of brings this anxiety and PTSD in her just because she's so terrified of him. And she teamed up with Black Chrysanthemum, who is still part of the team during this particular beginning here, and a couple of murder droids, 000 and BD-1. But they are not together as of right now because of what happened towards the end of Cy Spurrier's run. She made some enemies, and she had some love interest in the past, like Magna, or, well, you can find out for yourself by reading it. That's all I will say. So now we're at the point where Star Wars, all the comics are taking place after Empire Strikes Back. So after Episode 5, where Han Solo is, frozen. Yeah. That plays a big part in this in a little bit, but let's go through here. So we find our character here in Hoth. Remember the Battle of Hoth? How that didn't go so well for the rebellion? Well, we find her here with a couple of friends, Black Chrysanthemum and Tublik Roos. And she is just pretty much doing what she does best, betraying people and turning on the Empire, while one of her friends turns on her, and then that particular friend gets shot in the head by a new character named Just Lucky. So Just Lucky is now with Black Chrysanthemum and Dr. Aphra, and they head back to the Archangel 3, where she was getting this particular MacGuffin, as all these pieces are, that she's trying to sell. However, she's finding jobs hard to come by because Darth Vader wants her dead. So there's almost bounties and people looking for her, and she's afraid the Empire is looking for her. So what this series does is kick off a new era for all of these characters that we've read about in the previous omnibus. And it's also a new era for the different Star Wars comics like Darth Vader, or Star Wars the ongoing series, or Bounty Hunters. And it collects the first 25 issues. And as I mentioned earlier, this is an ongoing series. Alyssa Wong, they're still writing the book, and I don't think they're done. I mean, there's no announcement that it's going to end, so I assume they're going to go all the way to 50, which would make for a nice third omnibus. So here we meet some new characters. This young lady right here is Deta Yao, who is approaching our trio right here as they're sitting down trying to figure out how they're going to make more money. And she tells them about these rings. They are the Rings of Vale, and there are 2 of them, and they come with extraordinary power, almost like a mystical side of things. And she says both of them are cursed. If you wear only one, you will either die early or have eternal life and have all these kinds of powers and money. But it always comes with a curse, so you have to have both of them on at the same time in order for their powers to work. So Aphra doesn't really believe in mystical things or curses. She's more of a scientific character, right? Because she's an archaeologist. She doesn't believe in that stuff, and she actually mentions that that's kind of like the earliest form of an alarm system. It's just telling people about all these fake curses. So she decides to take on this particular job. She's like, okay, I will I will go and find these rings, and together they go. But there's someone else. There's a couple of other people that are looking for the rings, and one of them is this young lady right here. This is Eustacia Oka, who Aphra has had some kind of past with, and you get to find out through some flashbacks here how they know each other. But more importantly, there's somebody that is after them that has a lot of power, and that's Ronan Tag, and he's part of the Tag family, and he wants these artifacts. Now, he wants them for a different reason, because he finds power in being the last person to hold ancient artifacts. And what he likes to do is collect ancient artifacts and decides to burn them, knowing that he is the last person to have touched them. That's how, I don't know, he gets his rocks off. He's a rich guy. He's a really weird character. Here we get a little bit of a flashback between these characters. So there are two opposing forces after the same rings, these cursed rings. And it's actually really interesting how all of this comes together and what Alyssa Wong is able to do with the characters. Because you don't know who the hell to trust whenever you're reading the story. It's like you're always waiting for somebody to turn on someone else. And sure enough, it happens. And it happens more than once. And by the end of the first chapter, which I think is the first 5 issues, you're going to be so confused as to who to trust other than the main character, right? Dr. Aphra, who always finds a way to, you know, I don't want to say she's good because she's more of a loose cannon. She's just chaos walking around on 2 legs. I don't want to call her chaotic good. I don't think that would do her character justice, because you never know what kind of decisions she's going to make. And much like Gillen's run and Spurrier's run, that's what Alyssa Wong writes the character of Aphra like. You don't expect her to make the right decision because it's the right thing to do. You expect her to do things for selfish needs, but then there's a good side to her too, and that's what I like about the character. So yes, that is the first story arc about these rings, and she makes some new enemies. The second story arc, she's hired by Lady Domina, who is also related to the Tag family. This time around, she wants to have a different team. She said she doesn't want to be betrayed. She wants to kind of start over anew. So she finds help in Sanasteros, a character that was in the previous omnibus, and they've had a past together. And they go on this mission to go and find this hyper engine. The hyper engine that will help the rebellion against the Empire, again, taking place after Empire Strikes Back. But the biggest thing you're going to see in here that lets you know, hey, this takes place after Empire Strikes Back, is the whole War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. Now, I said this collects issues 1 through 25, and you're probably wondering, wait, I know I've read some of this stuff before. You have. If you have the Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters Omnibus, this one here, this collects issues 10 through 15 of Dr. Aphra that are also in here. So it's a little bit of double dipping, but this collects the entire event, and in great reading order, by the way. This just has Dr. Aphra's side of things. And I'm sure the question is, wait, does it matter if I don't read War of the Bounty Hunters? No, you get the gist here. They're invited to this party because they're trying to auction off Han Solo. He's been kidnapped. That's right. Whenever he's frozen, even though you see him in The Return of the Jedi, there's a story in between the 3 years that took place by the ending of Empire Strikes Back and the beginning of The Return of the Jedi. So everybody wants a piece of Han Solo, and some of them are willing to pay the price, the extra price, to get him. So what this does is it tells you the story through their perspective, so you're not really missing out by not reading War of the Bounty Hunters or any of the crossover stuff with the Bounty Hunters ongoing series, Darth Vader, or the Star Wars ongoing. Because yeah, Vader's doing his own thing, and Luke and Leia are doing their own thing, trying to find Han and trying to get him. But you are all introduced to Lady Kira, who controls the Crimson Dawn. And you may remember her from the Solo movie. And what Alyssa Wong decides to do throughout the series is not just focus on the character of Dr. Aphra, but also focus on other characters too, like Just Lucky. So Just Lucky gets separated from Aphra after the first story arc, and he's doing his own thing. He finds Ariel Yu, I think is this character's name. who was a childhood friend. He's dealing with his brother and his brother's debt. So you get to see that side of the story that is not just focusing on Dr. Aphra. And this was really separated into 4 story arcs. Because after War of the Bounty Hunters, it's this Crimson... what is it? The Crimson Rain? Yeah, Crimson Rain, that's what it's called. The Crimson Rain event, which... Aphra doesn't really play a big part, but we are introduced to a new nemesis, Kofan Ferris, this lady right there. And we also see some returning characters, maybe. So it was like people that were... I remember when I was doing overviews, people were like, when are these characters going to come back? There's still so much loose ends that they left open from Kieran Gillen's run and Cy Sperrier's run of Dr. Aphra. Well, without spoiling anything, some characters do make it back. I will say that. And I think the art in this particular book, it's not Salvador La Roca, and it's not Kev Walker. I feel like the art in this is more manga than in the previous volume. And even the story tends to be a little more manga-ish in the way the flashbacks are done. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just stating fact. That's the way this is read, or at least it read to me. Now, let's look at just a little bit of the artwork in the final arc in here, where we get the return of Min-Kyu Jung doing the art, and this is all part of the Spark Eternal storyline, which all ties into the Crimson Rain. But just a couple of pages from here, it's the same artist that drew the first story arc here. There are some characters that appear from the Star Wars Clone Wars, the cartoon. Not the CG, but the cartoon that predates it. Very nice surprise. So now it's canon. Even though I think in my head the cartoon was always canon. All the way in the back. For the people that did not want any spoilers at all, more power to you. Here is where you're going to find the variant covers. So you have classic characters from the original run. You have new characters. And you have artists that worked previously on Dr. Aphra. On covers at least. And just different characters. And like I mentioned, there's some new characters. This is a War of the Bounty Hunters, Dr. Aphra variant cover. It's a blueprint cover, and that's Bosk, of course. I didn't even talk about that character. But you can find out for yourself who that is. And then page art right here. And the end sheets. Alright, let's look at this binding. The book has sewn binding, and here's that eye. Not that big of an eye, honestly. 560 pages, but I've seen bigger eyes than 560 pages before. I've also seen flatter spines, and smaller spines, rather. Now, as far as the paper stock, it is using, I want to say it feels like the paper stock that they used for Dr. Aphra Volume 1. So, it's as thick as that. So you get a little bit of bleed through, like right here. Not sure if you can tell. Some frames that are coming across on the whites. And then, of course, the lighter colors. But right here, you can see some of the frame. And then, I think that's a word bubble. It looks like a bubble. I don't know. Hold on. Sure, that's a word bubble. So, just wanted to point that out. And I did read this last week. And one thing I noticed is towards the beginning, I had to hold it down a little bit like this because of the gutter loss. To read, not that I can read that language, but to read the word bubbles that are right up against the binding right there. It's because of the gutter curve. So you have to hold it down a little bit. So, something to keep in mind. Just want to be as thorough as possible. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this particular omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you're picking up only certain Star Wars titles, whether it's the Legends or Legacy titles, rather, the ones that came out from Dark Horse. Are you picking these up in Epic Collections? Do you pick up the modern Star Wars stuff, the Disney stuff? Or do you pick up everything that's Star Wars, or just follow particular characters? I would love to know all those comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, and check us out on Patreon and Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.